you very much. Should I talk with the microphone? I think it's better. Okay, I will give the lecture in English. I can speak Danish, but I think it's easier if I speak English. Most of the lecture, there are many pictures, so even if you don't speak English, I think you will understand most of the lecture. To start with, maybe a short explain where I come from, what I do. So I'm from Austria, and my mother is Danish, so I have been in Scandinavia a lot. And I started to study in Vienna ecology, and later I went to Denmark and started to study agronomy, agriculture. And in all the studies, I always based my work on chemistry and everything related to water. So this is, I have no idea about cattle and fish and whatever is existing. My expertise was always related to water. And maybe you ask why to have a water lecture in a peace event, but I think you will find out during the lecture. When I finished my studies, I heard about a man from Japan. His name is Masaru Emoto. Is there anybody who does not know about his work? I have never heard about him. No? Okay. Emoto, he is actually a very simple man, I would call him, but not to say negative, but he's not like an educated scientist. He was a journalist, and then he got an accident, and it was in the United States, and there was a guy who told him he has a special water to cure his leg, and he thought this is completely nonsense. Why should there be special water? But nevertheless, he got healthy and started studying water. And then he treated many thousand people in Japan. Even the president of Japan became his, the former president, his patient. And he became very successful. And then he thought he would like to find a method to show that water is not necessarily just water, H2O. And then he read a book of an American author who showed that there is not one snowflake which is the same like another one. Never. And then he got very inspired by this, and then he found a method how to freeze water and examine the water under the microscope. And this he published in the book Message from Water, and he got world famous. This book is translated in 47 languages, so it's also in Finnish and almost all languages. So, or let's say the main spoken languages. When I heard about this man, I thought it can't be true what he's telling. I was just making my second master degree, specializing in hormones in water in the nanogram area, which is actually the most accurate water, I would say, research and science and purification we have at the moment. This is radioactive labeled hormones testing. And when I heard about this man, and he said if he plays, for example, music to water, the water becomes more beautiful. And I thought this is completely nonsense. But nevertheless, I invited him to Austria for a lecture, and he came. And after the lecture, he invited me to Japan, and I was allowed to study there. And then I saw, and the funniest thing is, because I have always difficulties with belief, this is always my character. If somebody tells me the sun is shining, I want to see it by myself. So this is maybe a little bit my weaker, strong side. So I didn't believe him, but I was allowed to work, and I saw that he's right. And I will show you today why water changes and why water actually is the source of life, and why water is actually, I think, one of the main topics in a peace festival. First, how we do it. It's actually very simple. You take a pipette, you drop about 1 milliliter of water on the pipette or on the petri dish. You freeze it for several hours, and when it's frozen, it freezes like a mountain. And on the very peak, you see very little, there's a peak. On the peak is horizontal, one snowflake. That's the condition. You need special conditions. So all the kinetics and all those physical conditions must be perfect that the water crystal appears. The water crystal itself is very little. It's about 0.3 millimeters in size. So normally when you go out in winter and you see snowflakes, they're about 3, 5, 6, 7 millimeters in size. The one we examine are 10 times smaller. And the importance is that you need special conditions, because you know in winter sometimes you have the snowflakes and sometimes they don't come. So it's changing always. And the beauty is that you have never one single snowflake which is the same. These are all different water crystals. Well, to the story, it was like this. When I saw what the beauty in this work, Emoto asked me if I wouldn't open his laboratory in Europe. So 8.5 years ago, after I finished my studies, I opened the first laboratory outside of Japan doing the same research. These are all different water crystals. We got more than 2,000 water samples from all around the world because of the fame of Dr. Emoto. We got from the Amazon and from Antarctic and Arctic, and one Russian astronaut gave me water from space. I don't know if it's true, but he gave it to me at least. And we got it from Tibet and Ganges, and I don't know where. So all kinds of samples. And now the interesting thing is, no matter what belief you have, if you're Christian or Muslim or Hindu or Inca or Maya or whatever you are, the funny thing is that every culture always makes a difference between normal water and holy water. If you find one culture who didn't distinguish, it would be the first one. I haven't found one. So they always had described special waters. Now chemically you can say it's completely nonsense. What are they talking about? But the interesting thing is the word holy derives from healing. So something that was good for my body, and I couldn't explain it, I put my religion on this. I went, for example, to Mecca. I couldn't enter exactly the Medina because I'm not a Muslim, but we were invited there. And in Mecca, you know, in Saudi Arabia, there are 7 springs coming together in one spot. And of course they built the Medina on this, and this is the most holy spot for them. But actually it's a water place there. And when I examine the water from Mecca, and I'm not a Muslim, as I said, I get beautiful crystals. So there is a quality which we can examine. And this I want to show. As I say, this has water from all around the world. This is one of the first crystals. This is from a holy spring in Japan, next to the Mount Fuji. Also holy water. This is a spring from Spain. I had a beautiful project in Spain where I had to test 86 different waters. And the funniest thing is, then they told me I should choose the 6 best water from these springs. And I chose 6 waters, and then it was quite funny. It was exactly these 6 waters where there have been Mother Mary appearances. You know this, where this... well, I left church when I had to pay my taxes. That was the first step I went out. But nevertheless, I see there is the beauty, so I wanted to be free of any religion to see the beauty in all of them. And well, for me it was just interesting when I get water, holy water from South America. Maybe a little girl has not a Mother Mary vision, she has maybe a Pachamama vision. So we can just see what our brain allows us to see. So if we are conditioned, of course, in the Christian world, we can just see what somehow we have learned. And then we try to describe it. But I wanted to bring it into science, and this I want to show you today. This is a holy water from Spain too. The water from North America, holy water. They do crazy things with water. I did the same too in the laboratory. For example, if you apply ozone, if there's an engineer here inside, they know ozone kills everything in the water, all microorganisms, everything. The problem is also the water gets completely destroyed. So the question is, and when the moment you use ozone, the next step you have to do is to put chloride inside. Because if one single microorganism survives, he has a full table of all his dead neighbors, which he can start to eat, and then all the microorganisms explode again. So you have, it's like a chain reaction of negative impact you can do to the water. And it's funny that even on this beautiful island, you put chloride on the water. So actually, it would be nice if we could avoid too many chemicals inside. So what they do also, for example, in holy springs, that because so many people go there, like in a pilgrim, and they start to purify the water chemically, and then the whole holy water gets destroyed. This is beautiful water from Austria. It's called the Protecting Angel water, and it looked quite nice, very nice. This is just a live filming, so you see how it grows. This is a 0.3 millimeter crystal in size, so it's like a razor blade in the wrist. It's very, very, almost. So it's very small. And then, how does it work? We freeze it by minus 24 degrees in Japan, by minus 28 degrees in Austria because of the altitude and the different conditions. And then when we take it out, we examine it by minus 5 degrees, which means that the humidity around is higher, and this means that the water molecules start to attach to the surrounding, or to the crystal itself, and then it starts even to grow under the microscope. The water laboratory does all kinds of research, also many times strange research, like homeopathy. People know maybe, you know maybe about homeopathy. Most people in Europe, I think, know about homeopathy. Chemical homeopathy is the biggest nonsense we can do. That's just a fact. We dilute it over the Avogadro number, but nevertheless, when I test homeopathic remedies under the microscope, the structure is beautiful. So the question is, what do we need? The quantity of a substance or the quality? And the quality is always described in a form. And this is actually the main part of the first half of the lecture here. This is another work we did. Maybe you heard about spagyric. Spagyric, it's also where you take the essence out of the plant. This is just the